Stick to your plan. Trust no one.
What's up, David Fincher fans? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about his new movie, It's the Killer. If you're here and you like these videos, leave a comment down below. What's your favorite David Fincher movie as of now? And are you excited for The Killer? If you enjoyed the video and you want to drop a like, that'd be cool.
I don't need it.
After a fateful near miss, an assassin battles his employers and himself on an international manhunt he insists isn't personal. Oh, and by the way, the movie's rated R for strong violence, language, and brief sexuality. Woohoo!
Nerd alert!
I've got two words for you. David Fincher, one of my favorite filmmakers working. My anticipation for this movie was super high, and I think a lot of people that are fans of Fincher's work feel the same way. What is this all about? Is it a simple thriller? Is there more to it than that? Is it really only Michael Fassbender and then a couple of people here and there? Well, it's a little bit of everything I just said. I'm going to start out on a note that's slightly negative, but not a huge knock on the film. This is one of the more simplistic movies I've ever seen from David Fincher. The plot, the way we work through everything, the ending, pretty much from start to finish, the movie is simple compared to Fincher's other work. Now, compared to other movies, no, I mean, not really, but it's David Fincher. Then we spend the whole movie in the mind of Michael Fassbender's character, continuing to say to himself, forbid empathy, stick to the plan. We're listening to his inner monologue. Really, the whole thing is his inner monologue. If you don't like voiceover in a movie, and, you know, oftentimes I find that it can fall flat or it can take the film down with it. The way this is handled is different, but if you just don't like it in general, you're not going to like this because it's the whole thing. The cool thing about this, though, is we are learning the inner machinations of his mind, and they are an enigma. Basically, why does this killer do what he does? What is his thought process throughout this entire thing? I found it interesting when David Fincher said, I want people to watch this movie and just be kind of alarmed as to who the person is behind them when they're checking out at a grocery store. And I'm like, why? Because that's all I'm going to think about now, David Fincher. Thanks, man. But yeah, this is seeing into the mind of a calculated killer, and he's very calculated. He makes that obvious from the get-go, and we see him go from person to person, target to target, thing after thing, but in the midst of all of that happening, one execution doesn't really go according to plan. So he executes his plan until he doesn't execute his plan, and he keeps saying to himself, don't let empathy get in the way, don't let anyone get in the way, because if they do, well, then I may have to take them out with whoever the target is. But something happens that sends him on a path that he doesn't expect. And I love how the movie allows you to start out thinking this guy is a cold-blooded killer, there's no sense of humanity, there's nothing to him that allows me to resonate with this main character. Probably shouldn't love that because that makes it an inaccessible main character, but it's a movie about a killer. That's expected. But then we learn a little more, and as expected, there is some context given to us and some things about his character that really open the movie up, and I think will open the movie up for a lot of general audience members who, you know, to that point may be like, it's just like seeing this guy do the same thing over and over. And if you're going into this expecting an action thriller, it's thrilling in its own way, not really all that action-packed, barring one or two scenes. Well, really, there's one sequence in this film that was like chef's kiss. It was great, but it's really the only sequence in this film that is action-packed, and everything else is just kind of like shooting. I don't mind that. I know what David Fincher's all about. I expected that in this movie. That's exactly what I got. So personally, I think the film works because it decided to go in that direction, obviously based off of the source material. I don't know if it's following the source material. I have no clue. But, so if you've seen that, if you've read that, how'd it go?
What?
There's an underlying intensity to this movie that feels calming. That's the best way I can say it. You know, it's not an edge of your seat, oh my God, what's going to happen next type of film. You're kind of just sitting there going, this is interesting. It is intense, but it's not too intense. It does feel like Fincher, but it's not overboard Fincher, which I enjoy overboard Fincher. And then, you know, going into this film, I expected some big bombastic finale, something along the lines of Seven, maybe back and forth, witty, snappy dialogue like The Social Network. And you don't really get that. It's a slower moving thriller, a dramatic thriller that really relies on the dialogue, mostly the voiceover, but also relies on you to kind of get into the mindset of this character and then start to realize that things are pulling him in 100 different directions. If you can do that, then I think you're going to be captivated in a way, but it's not the most entertaining David Fincher movie. It's also not the most compelling David Fincher film. So, and I'll rank this later on this week. It's definitely not at the top of his filmography for me because I wasn't swept away emotionally like I thought I would be. In my reaction, I said, well, the pacing wasn't great. The technical aspects are amazing. And someone said,
well, when he starts talking about the cinematography, that's when a critic's disappointed.
But yeah, the cinematography's great, right? From the first frame, you're like, we're back. David Fincher, dark, foreboding. This is a crime thriller. This is everything I like about his work. It sucks you in with the atmosphere, with the aesthetic. The camera work is great, even though it doesn't have to do too much. It's really good throughout the entire movie. And then the score, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross bringing it like this. It's a vibe, man. The score is a vibe. Really, the movie's kind of a vibe because it's so much more chill than I thought it would be, but the score adds to that. Overall, yeah, the technical aspects were phenomenal. And they only add to this coldness, this distance between us and the main character, and that starts to shorten as we progress through the movie. And then by the time we get to the ending, which I thought moments towards the end, there's some other actors in there, obviously like Tilda Swinton, right? But we're relying on Fassbender to carry us throughout this film. The ending is good. I like moments within the end, but admittedly, I was a little disappointed and not even expecting something overly climactic like at 7. I just wanted a little bit more of an emotional impact from that ending. I wanted the film to cut to credits and go, okay, I felt that, and I didn't fully feel the ending as much as I did the rest of the movie, and that's fine, but normally when a film leaves you off that way, you can't help but to feel just a little disappointed in the way it leaves you off. Before I give you my score, thanks so much for your support. I'll be reviewing The Marvels later on this week and talking more about David Fincher. The Killer explores the mind of this cold and calculated assassin played effortlessly by Michael Fassbender. There is a calming intensity throughout and an excellent score to elevate each moment. The film isn't always as thrilling as it tries to be, but it sticks with you. At least it stuck with me afterwards, and I walked out like, oh yeah, I enjoyed that. But the more I thought about it and what it was trying to do with his character, the more I appreciated it. So I appreciate that, but don't get it twisted. This is not one of David Fincher's best movies, but it's better than a lot of other directors' movies. You know what I'm saying? See you later.